Hi guys, Monica here from The Grom Mom, and I'm here today to follow up from last week's video, which was all about diet, exercise, body image, and my story. So I hope you've had a chance to watch that, and just so you know, today was tough to come up with what to talk about because I know I left you hanging, and I feel like I need to give you a little more of the scoop of what I have gone through in my life, and yet there's so much to it. That's why I'm trying to make it into an ebook, because there's just so much to say. So today I decided I would share kind of one of the core issues of all of this, which actually applies to just about any area of life. So hopefully, whether or not you've ever struggled in this area, what I have to say will be an encouragement to you and be something helpful to you. So I left you last time at the place where I had lived many years of my life really struggling with my relationship with food, body image, and all of that. And I had almost lost hope that I could find an answer because nothing had seemed to speak to this or give me the tools I needed to get over it. So I was there after having 2 children, and everything changed. So what happened, and again, I'm going to go so much further into all of this in writing, but what happened to me essentially was I realized that my problem was in my thinking. It was in my mind. And I realized that because looking back over my history, I knew that nothing had actually set me free or given me peace, no matter what the externals were, whether I had been really thin, which I was for many years. With that had a new fear of gaining weight or losing that control. When I'd been on diets, that certainly didn't solve the problem. As my husband says, dieting can be a way that food-obsessed people just continue to be obsessed with food in the name of dieting. So certainly my mind was not off of food at all when I dieted. And just so you know, that will be a whole chapter of this book, especially some of the medical side of why diets typically don't work. And so my husband's helping me with that. But anyways, all of this to say that I had never found that peace. So I suddenly had the realization that what needed to change was my thinking, and I needed to change it radically. Like, I decided I was going to attempt to just refuse to think the negative thoughts or the preoccupations even that filled my mind all of the time. And they were throughout the day. They were so much a part of me and so much a habit that some of them I hadn't even realized were there. And this is where I'm going to apply it to anybody with any kind of unhealthy or unproductive thought life, things that you have lived with that just aren't getting you anywhere. And for me, I compare this to my little 3-year-old's blankie, his security blankie, because he had this thing. When he got it, of course, it was bright white and soft and beautiful, but he has carried that thing around for 3.5 years, and he actually, when he sleeps, he shoves it in his mouth, which I know is gross. He's my first child to do that, but he really depends on that. And it is dirty. It's not white at all. It's gray brown, and it's full of holes, and it stinks. I mean, I'll wash it every chance I get, and it smells good for a few minutes, and then it stinks again. And I can guarantee you that if he drags that thing through the dirt and then he needs to lay down for a nap, he'll still shove it in his mouth, no matter what, even if it makes him sick. It's just what he does. So I think of our negative thought life kind of like that security blanket, where even if we know it's unproductive and even unhealthy, we still may have that tendency to shove it in our mouth and sleep with it. And that's because it's a habit. It's something we have allowed to come into our life at some point, maybe when we were children or went through a bad time in our life, but at some point those thoughts became habit, and we kind of started to live with them like a friend, and they bring us comfort. And for me, it brought me some sense of control, as if thinking about things gave me more control, which was not true at all, but sometimes they can. So I want to encourage you, if you have lived with self-pity or anger or unforgiveness, or in this area, maybe you've never believed you could lose weight or be beautiful or lovable or worthy, I encourage you to challenge those thoughts and to begin to refuse them. And it was a tough job for me. It took me getting pretty radical, but it was so worth it that I hope you would attempt to do that as well. I became my own thought police, and I literally would grab those thoughts as soon as I caught them, even the ones that seemed neutral. They weren't necessarily beating myself up, but they were just pondering something that was not necessary. And I would get rid of them. I began to write down things on cards to look at each time instead, Bible verses, positive quotes, encouraging words, and I would turn to those quickly. And this was a process. It was a discipline. It took me a lot of time, and there were times where I was in tears because I was just like, how can I get rid of thoughts that I've lived with for so long? And it took a lot of prayer. But I encourage you to grab those thoughts and get rid of them, and begin to see how much space we have in our mind to pursue new things, and read great books, and just have a mind available when we get rid of those negative thoughts. So, of course, for me, when I started to consider getting rid of those thoughts, it was scary. I thought, oh, surely I'll be out of control and I'll gain weight, and it was this fear, which was completely unfounded, because I didn't gain weight. None of that happened, but I had to be at a place where I was so ready to change my thoughts that I was willing to be a little uncomfortable for a while. So the next thing that also applies to anybody out there is, what did I do? Because like I said in the last video, food and exercise isn't something you can quit cold turkey. You have to face it every day the rest of your life. So I had to wake up after all of this and decide what I'm going to eat the next day. And so you may be wondering, so what did I do? Now, I was trying to capture all those thoughts and preoccupations and get rid of them, but as far as making decisions, what I did is something I actually mentioned in my very first parenting video, and it's kind of a life philosophy I have, and I'm so thankful because I think it's something we can all use in any area of life, whether it's in your workplace or a passion you're pursuing in your marriage or parenting. And that is, I began to develop a profile, I'll say, of the person I wanted to become. And instead of following an eating plan or following somebody else's idea for how to live each day, I started to think, who is that person that I see down the road? Who is inside of me? And what does she look like? How does she act? What are her behaviors? And important thing to consider, what's realistic? You know, I can't picture myself being a marathon runner, competitive, if I'm home with 4 children and I can't get out. So for me at that point, I had to go, okay, realistically, what can I do? Who can I become that I can keep up then through this season of life, knowing I would have more children and knowing my husband was working like 120 hours a week at that time in medical residency. So I developed this picture. Now, I didn't write it down, but I would recommend it. It'd be good, probably, as long as it doesn't make you obsess too much. But I started to ask some questions, and I'll be writing these down in the book and maybe a few in this blog post. But they were things like, what do I want to look like? That's fair enough. I thought, okay, I'd like to be lean. I feel best, I'm healthiest when I'm lean. Didn't necessarily need to be skinny. I lived that way, and I knew it was way too much work and not fun at all. So I thought, okay, I want to be lean, but I want to be fun to be around. I want to be able to eat some dessert. Okay, what do I want my relationship with food to be like? Do I want to like always finish my kids' plates, And I was like, that's kind of gross. Like when I think about it, that really isn't who I want to be. So I started to come up with this profile, but I made it a distant profile. So it was 3 to 6, probably at least 6 months is what I'd recommend, but it was something down the road. And I thought, I'm going to start living this way, as if that were who I was already. And it felt a little bit like I was playing a game, but it doesn't matter. It works. So I was using my imagination to think, this is who I am already. And I lived that way each day until one day I woke up and that's who I was. And that's still who I am today. Now I'm going to include a quote in this blog post that I love because it says this very exact thing. And I was really happy to happen upon it because it just so perfectly says what I'm saying. And that's that idea of living it out until you're that person. And I hope that you can apply that to any area of life. I know that I've applied it to many areas of life. And I love that for me, being that person I've decided I would be has been a very unemotional thing. Back when I was trying to get over all these thoughts, I really needed to be objective. And so I used to tell myself, and this maybe isn't the best application for everyone, but I said, think like a guy. Because in my life, my experience with guys is they're less emotional, they're more objective, and I thought I'm going to make a decision about the things I do, the things I don't do, and I'm just going to do them. No questions asked, no emotions, don't overthink it. And so for me, back then, I thought working out 3 times a week is reasonable, 3 to 4. And so when it was my time to work out, I just did it. I didn't, oh, I'm not in the mood, or it's raining. Okay, it's raining, I'll do something inside. Like, you're gonna do it religiously, like you brush your teeth and like you do other things that are just part of your daily routine. I'm just gonna do it. And I'm gonna say no to certain foods because, you know what, they're just not who I wanna be. I just don't like them. And I'm gonna say yes to things that I want to be a part of my life. And then I'm gonna keep doing it. And you know what, when I messed up, when I overate, I thought, guess what? The person I wanna become occasionally might overeat because she's human, and that's okay. So the last thing I would let myself do is beat myself up and think about it. As soon as those thoughts came, absolutely not. I would refuse them like anything, because that would only drag me down. So it's that process of living it out and not allowing the thoughts to go into that tailspin of unhealthy thinking, and doing that habitually, daily, as a discipline, until I had that freedom that I actually wasn't needing to think about it. I wasn't needing to eat in unhealthy ways or think in unhealthy ways anymore. So I know this is long. I'm gonna wrap it up. There will be plenty more in writing soon. I hope this helps you in some way. I hope it gives you some ideas or encouragement. Please do give me feedback, comments or questions. And you guys have been awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll be on to a new video topic next time. Aloha, have a great day.